Which U.S. cities are getting hit the hardest by the homelessness crisis? It's no secret. Across the U.S., many big cities are dealing with an increasingly visible homelessness crisis. And here's the kicker. While the U.S. economy reportedly grew by 3% in the second quarter of 2024, tens of thousands of people are still setting up tents along city streets, with shelters packed to the brim. Cities that once boasted thriving social scenes and booming economies are now struggling with skyrocketing living costs that are forcing people out of homes. It's a reality check, highlighting deep-rooted inequalities and some serious flaws in the system. So which cities are feeling it the most? Let's count down the top 10 U.S. cities with the largest homeless populations. San Francisco, California. San Francisco, the city of the Golden Gate Bridge, Silicon Valley innovation, and endless cultural landmarks. But under that shiny exterior, San Francisco's facing some serious challenges. With around 7,582 people without stable housing, it ranks 10th in the U.S. for homelessness. And the cost of living? Through the roof. We're talking some of the highest property values and rents in the world. Sure, the tech boom has flooded certain neighborhoods with wealth, but a lot of residents have been left behind, making that wealth gap even starker. So while SF might be a tech paradise, the homelessness crisis is real and growing. Rolling in at number 9, Sacramento, California. Sacramento, California's capital, might have a bit more laid-back vibe, and yes, it's technically more affordable than its coastal neighbors, but affordable is pretty relative these days. With around 9,281 people experiencing homelessness, Sacramento ranks 9th in the nation. The city's dealing with a brutal housing shortage, which makes it a serious struggle for folks to find a stable place to call home. Even here, where the cost of living is lower than in SF or LA, the gap between housing supply and demand is making it hard for people to stay on their feet. So yeah, Sacramento may be smaller, but it's feeling the squeeze just like the big players. At number 8, we have Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix may be famous for its stunning desert views and tourist spots like Camelback Mountain, but this sunny city is dealing with a growing homelessness crisis. With around 9,642 people experiencing homelessness, Phoenix lands in 8th place on our list. Rising living costs and economic inequality are pushing more people out of stable housing, and a shortage of affordable options has left low-income residents struggling to keep up with the steep prices. So while Phoenix may look like a dream under the sun, the city is wrestling with some harsh realities as it searches for solutions to its homelessness problem. And it doesn't stop there. Phoenix is also facing a devastating opioid epidemic. The stats are tough to hear. Over 2,000 lives lost in Arizona due to opioid overdoses, with fentanyl driving much of this crisis. According to the Arizona Department of Health Services, an average of 5 people die every day from opioid-related overdoses in the state. This epidemic has only added to Phoenix's challenges, creating an even bigger public health and housing crisis as residents battle both a severe lack of affordable housing and a deepening drug problem. Next, at number 7, Oakland, California. Just across the bay from San Francisco, Oakland is known for its cultural diversity and creative spirit. But beyond its urban charm, the city is facing some serious struggles. With around 9,759 people without a permanent home, Oakland ranks 7th in the nation for homelessness. The city's housing market has spiraled, with rising rents pushing out long-time residents. The divide is painfully clear. Wealthier neighborhoods like Piedmont stand in stark contrast to areas like East Oakland, where rows of tents line the sidewalks. This contrast is creating real issues for Oakland. One property manager mentioned that the sight of RVs parked near apartment buildings often scares off potential renters. It's a vivid reminder of the widening economic divide in a city that's trying to balance its thriving, creative culture with the very real challenges its residents are facing on the streets. Coming in at number 6, San Jose, California. San Jose, right in the heart of Silicon Valley and home to tech giants like Apple, Google, and Facebook. But for all that tech wealth, San Jose is also facing a serious homelessness issue, with around 9,903 people living without stable housing, making it 6th on our list. While the city is synonymous with billion-dollar companies, its housing market is one of the priciest in the nation. Median home prices often soar past the $1 million mark, leaving many essential workers, from teachers to public service employees, struggling to keep up. Some have had to move miles away from work or, in the worst cases, end up on the streets. It's a jarring contrast. Silicon Valley's wealth against the daily struggles of San Jose's working class, highlighting just how deep the inequality goes. At number 5, Denver, Colorado. With the Rocky Mountains as its backdrop, Denver is known for its outdoor lifestyle and vibrant culture. But behind this beautiful setting, the city is grappling with a major homelessness problem. With around 10,054 people without permanent homes, Denver ranks 5th nationwide. Experts agree that the root cause is Colorado's brutal housing crisis. There's a shortage of nearly 70,000 units across the state. This housing gap has driven up home prices and rents, making it almost impossible for some residents to find an affordable place to live. Despite Denver's natural beauty and appeal, the city's homeless population continues to rise as people struggle to secure housing in this booming metro area. Number 4, San Diego, California. San Diego might be famous for its idyllic beaches and perfect weather, but it's also home to a homeless population of around 10,264 people, putting it 4th in the nation. The rising cost of living, driven by the city's popularity among tourists and retirees, has pushed many longtime residents to the edge financially. Take Tracy Bennett, for example. Tracy, a 54-year-old woman, has been living on the streets for 7 years, forced to move her tent and belongings countless times as the city tries to clear out homeless camps. She found temporary shelter near the bustling Gaslamp Quarter, but she's constantly facing displacement. Tracy's story is all too familiar among San Diego's homeless residents, who often see these camp clearances as futile, addressing the symptoms but never the real issues. As Tracy puts it, "We're not bad people, we're just in a bad situation." Coming in at number 3, Seattle, Washington. Seattle's tech-powered economy may be booming, but the city is facing a homelessness crisis with 14,149 people living without homes, ranking it 3rd in the nation. Despite Seattle's reputation as a hub of innovation, home to giants like Amazon and Microsoft, the wealth gap here is striking, leaving too many residents struggling to find stable housing. Take Kara Bernstein, for example. Kara found a sense of community in The Jungle, an encampment under a highway known for its harsh conditions. It's far from an ideal living situation, but for Kara, the camaraderie she's found is something no shelter has offered. Her story highlights a unique challenge in Seattle. Even with available shelters, many homeless individuals prefer to stay in unconventional and sometimes dangerous places, where they feel a stronger sense of belonging and safety than in formal housing programs. Number 2, Los Angeles, California. Los Angeles, glamorous on the surface, but beneath the lights of Hollywood, the city's homelessness crisis is impossible to ignore. With 71,320 homeless residents, Louisiana takes 2nd place. Known as the entertainment capital of the world, Louisiana is also becoming infamous for its rising cost of living, which is pushing many people to the brink. Between 2020 and 2023, the city's homeless population jumped by 12%, despite major efforts to tackle the crisis. Skid Row in downtown LA stands as a stark symbol of this epidemic. Tents line the streets for blocks, and residents often tap into nearby streetlights to power their makeshift homes. Even though nearly 60,000 homeless individuals have been housed, many still refuse assistance, preferring the independence of street life despite the dangers. Adding to the complexity is the ongoing presence of gangs in areas like South LA, where groups like the Crips and Bloods have held territory for decades. It's a city full of contradictions, with extreme wealth and deep poverty clashing, and homelessness right at the heart of its social challenges. And finally, at number 1, New York City. At the top of the list is New York City, with a staggering 88,000 homeless residents, making it the largest homeless population in the US. The city that never sleeps may be a land of opportunity for some, but it's also struggling to support its most vulnerable residents, especially in the wake of an influx of nearly 100,000 migrants from countries like Colombia, Venezuela, and Chad over the past year. New York's unique legal requirement to provide shelter for anyone in need has put incredible strain on city resources. Both migrants and homeless residents can often be found sleeping outside overcrowded intake centers like the Roosevelt Hotel, waiting for a spot in temporary housing. Shelters are bursting at the seams, and despite efforts to repurpose hotels and office spaces, New York is at a breaking point. The city's homeless crisis, combined with dwindling federal support, has transformed into a full-scale humanitarian emergency, one that's testing the city's resilience like never before.